Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we are going to take a look at the highest predicted points team for double game week 29. Now, I wanted to launch this series a while ago already, but I think coming to game week 29 when a lot of people are using their bench boost, I think this is when it is a great time to start this series. So do let me know since this is a new video, right, whether you guys enjoy this kind of content so that I will know whether to continue to keep it up for the next coming game weeks. So how this would work is that we are going to use Draft Hound, which is an FPL website, loads of interesting statistics there, and they have predicted points for all of our players here in Game Week 29. We're going to take a look at the top predicted points players and then form them into a team, right, that will get the most points, right? So essentially the best 15 players that an FPL manager can actually have in double Game Week 29. We are going to take a look at these players now, and just to caveat before we move on, some of these players are players that may not be that good for the long run, right? But just for this specific game week itself, double game week 29, they are predicted to do well, right? So think of it as kind of a situation where we free hit every week and then we take a look at the best possible team for that game week. But of course, since a lot of people are bench boosting right now, we're going to take a look at the top 15 players. So essentially the best 15-man squad that we can have to bench boost this week. So hopefully you guys do enjoy this video, and if you do, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. We're trying to hit 5,000 subscribers as well, so it'd be awesome if you guys can help me out to smash that button. Alright, so we're going to start off with these two keepers in goal, right? Bear in mind as well, the squad value is 97.4 million actually, so it's actually quite an affordable squad, and you guys will see later on why, and that's because most of the Brighton players are quite cheap as well, right? But let's take a look now at the goalkeepers. We have Kepa and Neto. Now Kepa 6.9 predicted points and Neto at 6.3 predicted points. Now Kepa and Neto are actually the second and third highest predicted points keeper, right? The one with the keeper with the highest predicted points is actually Steele at 8.0 predicted points for double game week 29, right, where Brighton have a decent double there, right? But because the Brighton players are slightly more lucrative and are expected to do better for their outfielders, we're gonna do away with Steele, and we're gonna have Kepa and Neto in this squad, right? So combined they have almost over 13.2 predicted points just between the two of them, right? And of course Kepa with that double game week where Chelsea will play Aston Villa and also play Liverpool, but Kepa, as we know, can get those save points. He's good for bonus points as well, right? As for Neto, 2 home fixtures for Bournemouth, pretty okay fixtures as well, right? So there is a good chance maybe he can keep 1 clean sheet and then load up with some save points and then possibly get a bonus as well, right? So that's where we're gonna go with the keepers. Let's take a look now at the defenders. So the 5 defenders that we have in this squad, most of them are players that we are already targeting, right? So Trippier, Chilwell, Estupiñán, Shaw, and then we have Zuma, who would be a little bit of a surprise to most of us, but he is predicted to do quite well because West Ham do have quite a decent double, Southampton and Newcastle in double game week 29, and on top of that, Zuma does have that attacking threat as well. He did have quite some time off because of his injury, but he is coming back into the starting 11 now, and we would expect the West Ham defense to be much more solid at the back because of Zuma coming back from injury. And then thereafter, there is also the attacking threat from him that can contribute to his predicted points as well, and that's why he is here on this list. Now it is important to note as well, right, that the way that I've arranged the players is from the highest predicted points defender all the way to the lowest. So Trippier is at 9.7 predicted points, and then it goes downwards from there all the way till Zuma, right? So Trippier, of course, he's been the highest scoring defender this whole season. He's been so consistent, and of course when they double, he's going to get really good numbers for predicted points, and he's at 9.7 as well. On set pieces, you know the drill, right? Now Chilwell, he's the next defender that is predicted to do quite well, 9.4 predicted points. He does have 2 home fixtures, Aston Villa and Liverpool in game week 29. Now of course the Liverpool one isn't that easy, or it wouldn't be as straightforward, right? But the Aston Villa one, there is a good chance he can keep a clean sheet there. And then of course Chilwell is actually the second most attacking defender behind Trippier, right? So definitely someone we would want for this game week. Estupiñán as well, also a very attacking defender, and he does have a good set of fixtures in double game week 29. But do bear in mind that he has been very active in the international break, playing loads of minutes for the Ecuador team, right? So we will have to see, and also the turnaround from when he finishes his last game until the first game for Brighton in this double game week 29, the turnaround is quite tight, right? So that is also something to consider. But of course, the model does predict that if he starts both games and he gets 90 minutes in both games, then he is predicted to get 9.3 predicted points, which is one of the highest for all the defenders out there. Actually, the third highest, right, just behind Trippier and Chilwell, right? And then we have Shaw, 8.3 predicted points, also because Manchester United double, right? So Shaw, of course, he is on set pieces, very attacking defender, right? And Manchester United, they could be a little bit short at the back because Casemiro is no longer allowed to play until later on in the season because of his suspension, right? So the Manchester United defense could take a hit because of Casemiro's absentee, but 8.3 predicted points is still pretty good for Shaw. Of course, the attacking threat is factored in there as well. And then as for Zuma, we covered him just now, right? So there we go for defenders. Let's take a look at the midfielders that this Draft Hound perfect predicted points team has. So in midfield, a very big surprise is that Mohamed Salah is at 12.4 predicted points and leads all the midfielders, even Marcus Rashford, for double game week 29 points predictions. Right, so even though he does play Chelsea away and Manchester City away, Salah is someone that usually shows up in big games, and probably the model has factored this in as well, right? And Liverpool attackers are all pretty much coming back fit already. Luis Diaz predicted to start soon as well, and Liverpool have been turning a corner recently, right? So Salah, 12.4 predicted points, is predicted to do quite well for double game week 29, which kind of begs the question whether we should bring him in early now as well, with the double in 34 in mind for Salah as well, right? So there we go. Next, we have Marcus Rashford. Now, he is, of course, yellow flagged right now. He did not go for the England games, or he did not leave the country to play the international games because he had a bit of a knock, right, from the Fulham FA Cup game, right, that kind of hindered him from going to the international games. But that also means that he will be very well rested for double game week 29, and the model actually does predict that if he plays both games and gets good minutes in both, Rashford, who is the player in form for Manchester United, is predicted to get 11.9 predicted points, right? So that is really, really high, right? And of course, you wouldn't put it past him to do so, right? Next up, we have the two Brighton midfielders in Mitoma and McAllister. Now, both of them have been performing really well ever since we got them in double game week 27 for their double there as well. But of course, McAllister is on penalties, and that kind of adds to his appeal as well. But regardless, I think Mitoma still has been showing, based on the eye test, that he is someone that is really sharp, right? He may not put up the same numbers as McAllister or much, but when he gets those chances, he is a very clinical finisher. So 11.1 predicted points for Mitoma, 10.6 for McAllister. And last, out of all the midfielders, or the fifth midfielder, is Fernandes. Now, Bruno Fernandes is actually predicted to get 10.4 points in double game week 29. Now, something to consider as well is that he is also on penalties. He is the first choice penalty taker for Manchester United, right? So when they have two games, the chances of him getting a penalty is double the chances, right? So something to consider as well, which kind of puts him as a captaincy shout if you want to captain a penalty taker, right? So, but I think most of us are kind of in a situation where you may have to sell Saka to get to Bruno Fernandes, and that may or may not be worth a hit, right? For those of you guys who do have to take a hit, right? So definitely something to consider, but Bruno Fernandes is predicted to do quite well, 10.4 predicted points for double game week 29. So finally, up front, we have Isak, Tony, and Danny Ings. Now, those of you who went for Isak in game week 28, you probably are in dreamland right now because you got his 13-point haul against Nottingham Forest. Now, Isak looks really sharp, and even though they do have quite a tough set of fixtures in double game week 29, right, Isak is potentially on penalties if Callum Wilson does not come back in time, right? Of course, there is that threat of sharing minutes with Callum Wilson, but as it stands, DraftHound predicts that if he does get 2 set of 90-minute games, he will get 11.1 predicted points, right? So man in form right now for Newcastle, and there's every chance that he could get some returns against his opponents for double game week 29. Now next up we have Ivan Toney at 9.4 predicted points. Now Toney, of course, he's on penalties, he's the talisman for Brentford. A lot of the attack actually flows through Ivan Toney, but something to consider as well is how a lot of potential suspensions are looming for Ivan Toney. Now, the betting situation with the FA, where he probably will get suspended for quite a while, that should come after double game week 29, right? So I think the more immediate concern would be that yellow card situation, where if he gets one more yellow card, he will miss 2 games, right? And essentially, if he gets it in the Brighton game, which is the first game for Brentford in double game week 29, he will miss the Manchester United game, which is the second fixture for Brentford, right? So something to consider as well. But of course, the model bases this on 2 90-minute games for Ivan Toney and gives him 9.4 predicted points. Now, lastly, we have Danny Ings, who has been on somewhat of a revival for West Ham, right? He actually scored a lot of goals in that 4-0 win for West Ham, if you would remember as well. And of course, there is a chance that he could be on penalties, right? Of course, Benrahma seems to be the penalty taker of choice, but I think there could be times when Danny Ings could step in there as well, right? And on top of that, Danny Ings seems to be the man up front for David Moyes right now, that he is choosing to go for Danny Ings ahead of the other attackers as well, right? So his minutes look pretty alright, right? And if he does get 90 minutes in both games, 8.7 predicted points is quite respectable as well, right? It actually puts him among the top few strikers, top few forwards for double game week 29 predicted points. Now, combined, this whole team, I think it looks really strong for double game week 29. It may not, some players may not be good for the long run, but at least in double game week 29, this whole team is predicted to get 143.5 predicted points, which is incredible, right? So we will come back to this the next game week, where in game week 30 we probably do an 11-man squad instead, right? Because a lot of us won't be bench boosting in game week 30, but in game week 30 we'll come back to this squad in game week that we're laying out here in game week 29 to see how they did, right, before we go into the 11 players for game week 30. And I think it'd be nice to kind of see how the predicted points fare after the game week, review it before we move on to the game week 30 team. Right, so hopefully you guys do enjoy this form of content. Right, I hope it's helpful for those of you guys who want to know the predicted points for some of these players as well. The website is of course DraftHound as well. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. Drop a comment as well how many players in this 15-man squad you have. I'll be interested to know as well. Right, and I'll see you guys in more Game Week 29 content very soon. Bye-bye.